All right, let's talk about the hip triggering for power on our forehands. I see a lot of players that are often going from here, from that take back, and turning through the shot almost like a door with, one hinge. Everything's moving together at the same speed. You cannot trigger a lot of speed hitting the ball like so. I mean, you can create some speed, but certainly not enough to take you to that 4-0, 4-5 open level play. We have to trigger speed from the legs to the hip, which allows then the chest to pull, and then the racket goes as a whip. A way of doing that is to really stabilize yourself, and you'll see professionals shadow swinging all the time, doing this and pushing off one leg, pushing off the other leg. It's because the push off from the leg, from a solid foundation, from here, allows you to push upwards to create the hip rotation that allows, and you can see again, my racket is prepared here and ready, and then the racket gets pulled by the body. Now, don't mistake my stance or how I'm standing over here as a rule of how we want to hit the ball as you're really fully speeding up and hitting it. This is a great way of feeling the hip trigger. When we are hitting and moving, depending on your stance, you are going to allow that back foot to go. But the back foot ends up coming through as a result of the entire motion, not because I'm here and I want it to go forward, because you see that comes from the legs. The tight legs, no good. I'm not producing power coming upwards. We want the summation of forces from the heel to the toe as I'm pushing off the floor. Let's say I'm in a semi-open cross-court rally, just as an example. Heel to toe, I'm loading on my right leg here. From there, my hip pulls my body, my upper body forward. It continues to go through. So from here, boom, I allow myself to swing and rotate. And you can see how each of these segments moves independently. But what happens is you can see how these all segments end up creating the full power of that forehand. You can hear that noise of the racket effortlessly, because where players often go wrong trying to create power on their forehand is by using the arm to create speed, because it feels like we are working hard. When we feel the arm working, we're going, okay, I'm tightening, I'm arm wrestling almost with the ball. And we can't sustain that in a 2-3 hour match. And certainly not for a long period of time in your career, because all of a sudden you're going to get pain somewhere and you're going to shank the ball. Looseness and turning of the body creates length. Length through contact. And length through contact is a good thing. You can see my arm, my wrist are just so loose. I'm barely holding on to this racket. It's about a 3 out of 10. I don't want my racket to spin. I don't want it to fly out. But I'm by no means gripping it super tight, because that will cause me to lose feeling. And if the arm is stiff, the arm is tight, it's difficult to move quickly. So you're not allowing yourself for power. One of my favorite toys, a heavy ball. So this is 6 pounds. You can do it in different ways. But let's just go with this one here with 2 hands to start. 2 hands on the ball, whether it's got grips or not, doesn't really matter. From there, trigger the speed, but don't allow your feet to go anywhere. The back foot can pivot a little bit, but do not allow it to go, because that means that you pull that hip forward. You didn't allow it to fully flex and go through the shot and create the power that you're trying to find. Okay? By having these grips, you can allow yourself a maximum speed, because then I'm not trying to hold the ball back. I'm just gripping it. And while I'm doing this, again, I'm really visualizing. Every time I'm doing shadow swing, every time you're doing any sort of movements, you want to visualize what that's going to look like at the end if you're really playing. Ball is in front, bouncing, and I'm going through it. So the hip triggers the power, but then almost gets blocked for a second before that foot would come around. So you're going from here. Now you can add some movement to it if you like. Move to the side, and then you can see that the legs come through. However, that first movement is from here to really feel the floor and then pushing upwards. I'm not making my legs do anything, they just come along. And then when I land in a way so I can recover. You can also do this with one arm. If you, let's say you're stepping more into the ball, go neutral for this shot. And again, I'm triggering the speed from the legs, but I'm not letting them move. I don't want to feel this, because you see how that is slower and I'm not engaging any of my segments. You could also do this backwards. Same thing there. You want to feel the floor, triggering of the segments, and then you let the feet go around. And then you go back, and you can just do this on your own. Drop the ball to yourself, and don't worry about the outcome. Let the ball go. What we want to see is really that feeling of pulling and effortlessness, like you're throwing the racket. This goes for the forehand, but also for the backhand, and it's a matter of just utilizing your body. Where is the biggest, strongest power in the body? We talk about core, but it certainly isn't chest and arms only. The legs set you up, they move you, they create contact points, they create the timing of the shot, because from there, you can then time the ball with your arm and the release. You time this release. And you know, if you watch closely, speed of the racket happens so late in the pro game. The speed of the racket doesn't start here. Quite often when you're rallying with somebody, the racket speed begins closer to, so the pull out of that speed and the full release of it happens about here, where you're allowing that hip to trigger the speed from the floor up. So have fun, go play, allow yourself for errors, let the mistakes happen. The reason we control and tighten the racket more is because we're trying to desperately hold on to that ball and make sure it goes in. But you're never going to achieve that full power and full potential of your body if you are using your arm and your muscles only to swing for the ball. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, guys.